raising over $10 million in venture capital.
Yeah. And when people don't see a lot of people that look like you doing things like this, they see it as high risk.
As the founder and CEO of Time Study, she made history as the first Black woman in Virginia to raise millions in venture capital. Is Time Study going to be on the stock market?
Here we go.
What's up, guys? This is Brianna Moore, your host of the Conversations Unearthed podcast, where y'all come for me, but you stay for the guests. Today, oh my gosh, we got a heavy hitter in the building, y'all. If you don't know her, you might want to know her. Introducing Miss Kishau Rogers. Going crazy right now. So just to tell you guys a little bit about why you should care about this interview and why it is so amazing and important that she's here is because Miss Kishau Rogers is a trailblazing technology leader known for her computer science and systems thinking expertise, driving innovation through intelligent human-centered solutions. As the founder and CEO of Time Study, she made history as the first Black woman in Virginia to raise millions in venture capital, propelling her tech startup to success. Time Study's intelligent platform revolutionizes workforce productivity analysis and is trusted by leading hospitals nationwide. Kishau also owns WebSmith Incorporated, a trailblazing software innovation consultancy that partners with industry leaders, empowering them to strengthen their innovation muscle and translate ideas seamlessly from concept to market reality. Jesus Christ. You're so dynamic, and you're like packed into this little package. Like this amazingly wonderful, gorgeous, intelligent, all of the above package. So anyways, thank you so much for coming. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well, actually.
How you feeling?
I feel well rested, and there's a long weekend coming up, so I'm looking forward to
What's going on this weekend?
Well, I'm going on vacation.
Oh, it's Memorial Day weekend.
And it's Memorial Day. I'm going on vacation afterwards, so I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah.
Okay, how long has it been since you've had a vacation, though?
I go every year, right? June is my birthday month, so every year I'm vacationing throughout the month of June.
Shout out to the Cancers. Y'all got
That's
me.
What we do, yeah.
Y'all got us on that one. It's not. I know a lot of Cancers, but you know I'm a Taurus.
Okay.
And you know, we usually, you know what I'm saying, we good. But this, the Cancers, y'all got y'all one with this one. So, before we start getting into the nitty gritty of it all, I'm gonna do some fire round questions.
Okay.
I guess these are not fire round, but bootstrapping. Is that freedom or struggle?
Oh, wow. Wait, oh my goodness. Can I say both?
Absolutely.
It's both. It's definitely both.
Do you resonate with bootstrapping?
Oh, yeah. I've run 4 companies and 2 of them I bootstrap.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is scarier, debt or dilution?
Ooh, that's another great question. I would say, well, there's smart dilution, so I would say debt.
One expense you never regret in business.
In business, okay. Before you said business, I was thinking vacations.
You already on the beach right now.
No, I swear I'm short term. I think hiring the right people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, investing in the right people.
Okay. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Payroll
or product? Which gets funded first if cash is tight?
That's a trick question.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with, oh gosh. So you read my bio. I tend to overthink things.
Same.
So I almost don't want to answer that.
Okay.
But I think, again, I'm going to put the word smart. Smart product development can reduce payroll. So I'll go with product.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I can see, I've had a retail business before, and I've had it where I guess this is what taught me that revenue and profit are 2 different things.
Definitely.
Because we can be making $20,000 a month, but if we spending $19,000 on payroll in product, then we're not really making any money. So that's when the
I see what
you comes in.
Yeah, that's why it's tough to answer the question because it depends on the lens that you look at it. So, for example, revenue and profit in the startup world, we track. This is one thing that I learned after bootstrapping. We track our burn rate. Which is what you're describing is how much money are you burning. every month. So you make a certain amount, you spend a certain amount. If you're in the negative, it's a burn rate. And so you want to track it because it tells you when you essentially run out of money. One of the ways to extend that is to be smart about payroll, but also how much funding you fund your product. But if you're building the right thing that you can scale and earn more profit, then you want to put some money into that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by product.
Got you. And with your companies, do you have a lot of product?
Software.
Software,
That's
okay.
our product, yeah.
Okay. And I know we in a time study, but I'm just so, like, I love when I have on, like, especially female entrepreneurs who are actually doing the thing. So I kind of want to jump right into what you have going on with time study. My background, like I told you, I'm a nurse, and it seems like with time study, you are doing the Lord's work by, I believe it's tracking how long physicians see their patients.
In a lot of ways, yes. How much time the clinical care team is spending on billable and reimbursable activities, and also activities that are what we call top of license. So that includes time spent with patients. So where you're really paying attention to how much time does this employee spend doing what we hired them to do, what they care about the most, and what earns the business the most money. That's what we track.
You've monetized time. Like, you figured out a way to see where the time is going. Name a thing. Like, are you really doing what you're doing? Like, are we paying you for this job that you went to school for? Because the nurses do spend a lot more time with the patients.
Yeah, they do. They actually do. And the data says that too. So one of the things we learned, time study actually started as a small project in one of my other companies. We were working with 2 or 3 hospitals in the U.S. And first thing we learned was that the average physician spends like 30% of their time with patients.
Yeah.
And that's nuts. And also the physicians are burning out, but clinical outcomes are getting worse. So there's this like death by 1,000 cuts that happens that eats away at people's time at work. And it's not just in hospitals, is everyone at work, but hospital is a special place because it's so complicated. That you see, and the stakes are higher, so you see the impact of how time is spent immediately in a hospital.
And I kind of get to see more of a close-up view to it, because it's like the nurses do spend more time with their patients, but the physicians have like maybe 50 that they have to see, which is why they come in so early in the morning and, leave at night, and why they have all these different types of people under them, like interns, fellows, residents. They have all of those people to help them. It's so interesting to me, but you said too, because it's like hospitals, healthcare is getting more complicated because people are living longer because technology is getting better.
Yeah.
But with that being said, the help is getting younger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, physicians are getting younger, nurses are getting younger, and I feel like a lot of times the experience may not be there, especially after COVID. A lot of experience left.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of people there teaching. Yeah. So how else do you measure besides patient outcomes?
Yep.
Like, I feel like what you have is an amazing identifier.
Yeah. You can measure the correlation between how you spend your time and how it impacts what's important to you. So the way I talk about time study is like, it's 3 things we talk about. One is the financial impact, which is what most executives start caring about first, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But then there's like efficiency, reducing waste and overhead. But the third pillar is how it impacts your staff. And that includes doctors and how quickly people burn out when they're doing things that don't fuel them. Ultimately, that's what that's about. And the time we talk about technology, what we're missing is when doctors have limited time with patients and limited time with residents and just limited time in general, some of that knowledge of how to evaluate a patient that doesn't make the electronic record doesn't get passed on to a younger doctor. So, they may not have as much experience. They have to do more reps. But if you're just dropping them in front of different patients with different diagnosis codes, and people don't have enough time to actually learn what they need to learn in order to be effective in their job. So that's why we really started time study. But we started working with hospitals from the perspective of just revenue capturing more revenue, because that's what businesses care about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it all works well together.
Okay, now we got to get to raising over $10 million in venture capital.
Yeah. That was a journey. So I bootstrapped companies. I've worked in grant-funded businesses that I've co-founded. And, Time Studies seemed like one of those businesses that had like a scalable idea. We have a platform, one platform that all hospitals use. And, I thought this is a great venture backable deal, but I didn't know any VCs. And I didn't know any founders that had ever raised VC funding at the time. This was 2018. So I actually, and I live here in Richmond. I've been in Richmond for over 20 years. I actually tapped into my network in New York because I knew more people there that knew more people that have gotten funded at that level. And it took me a really long time to raise the first million. I think I raised the first million, it was the end of 2019. Oh, wow. So it was like a 16-month journey. I pitched, I think, 87 investors before I got to a $1 million mark. And then the next 9 million was easier, but that first million was really, really hard to raise.
They say the first million is always really hard.
It is very, very hard, but you learn a lot in doing it. You refine your pitch, and you learn what works and what resonates.
We got to take it back a little bit. What was your first relationship with money?
Oh, goodness. Oh, that's a great question. I'm sure it was as a child. My grandfather, my dad's dad, used to give me, you remember the silver dollars?
Yeah.
The huge quarters. Uh-huh. He used to give me those, and I used to keep them, and I used to hate when I spent them because I didn't know when I was going to get another one. They're so rare. So that's probably my first memory of money, was that felt like a special thing. And
how old were you think about it?
Gosh, I was probably 10, 8.
Okay.
May have been younger. I just remember them telling me, don't ask your grandfather for money, but he would always give me silver dollars.
Why we can't ask granddaddy?
I don't know what that was about. I'm like, I didn't ask him for anything. He just keeps giving me money.
Right,
and it's ironic because my dad does it to my kids now. He just gives them money every time he sees them.
I got you.
But that was something that I remember as a child. As an adult, for me, or I should say my first job I had at 16. I've been working since I was 16. Money for me was freedom. Like it meant that I had choices. I could go buy the outfit that I wanted.
Yeah.
I had extra money in my pocket when I was out with friends. So money has always meant, for me, it expands my choices.
Yeah. Okay. And then we have, like you said, it's 6 of you guys, right?
Yeah, my mom had 6 kids. Yeah.
So you have 5 brothers and sisters.
Yep. 4 brothers and 1 sister.
4 brothers and 1 sister.
Yeah.
Who was it? Anybody in your family that really just instilled in you the power of education?
Well, I would say my dad. He went to college and graduated. I remember him. He went to college through his job, so I remember him studying when I was growing up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was in college, so I remember that. And I was the first of my siblings to go to college. So all of my younger siblings went to college after I went to college, and that's the other thing that I learned is, you set an example and people kind of follow. But I would say my dad, because he was really smart, and I remember him being up studying, he was a machine engineer. So I remember him working with blueprints or something. I had no idea what he was doing, but I knew he was in college.
And y'all were taken care of.
Yeah, we were.
Did your mom work?
She did. My mom, when I was younger, she was a typist, which was why I wanted to go into computers. I always tell that story. Like, I used to see her typing. I'm like, I want to type for her.
That looks cool.
Yeah, that looks cool. But she, before she retired, she was a teacher. Before she retired, and my dad was a machine engineer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at a few things that, the people may know what these leading publications are or not, but a few publications that have recognized you are Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Entrepreneur, and Black Enterprise. First of all, congratulations, because they're not just giving out accolades to anybody.
Thank you.
How did that feel? More measurable. How long did it take for them to recognize what you were doing?
That's a great question. I don't recall. I think that talking about your work is what gets you exposed to opportunities like that.
Yeah.
So I would say, we read about sometimes the same people, and it's not necessarily, I hate to say this, but it's not necessarily that they did something great. It may be because they have access to people that can talk about their work. So I was very active in business, working on projects, and I was also active on the internet and speaking about what I was working on, and in my network, that's how that exposed me to opportunities for folks like Forbes and Black Enterprise to recognize my work. But I would say it may have taken, I've been in tech for a long time, almost 30 years. So it may have been 10 years.
What a time to be in tech.
Yeah.
Because my tech stocks have always done well. My favorite stock, and we're not financial advisors, please consult a professional before you make any investment decisions, but my favorite stock is Apple.
Yeah.
I love Apple. My other one is a little controversial. I'm not gonna say it, but anyways,
does it start with a T?
Yes.
Oh God.
It does well, but it go down, but it come back up. But I know on their P&L sheet, like one of their first ones, they didn't make any money off of cars. They made money off of Bitcoin.
Exactly.
So
I read that.
Yeah. So I feel like if you can go in a room and you understand how to make money, I can admire that.
Yeah.
I do think that maybe like him as the CEO is messing up the brand.
Oh, that's an understatement.
So,
yeah, he is. It matters a lot.
It does, yeah. Because you don't see Tim Cook around here following around President Trump and giving his 2 cents. Anyways, I want to talk about these degrees that you have. I see that you have bachelor's in computer science, bachelor's in psychology, but I don't see is there a business one in there somewhere?
No, I learned by doing.
I see.
I learned by doing. I actually started my first business. I hate to age myself, but it was in the 90s. It was after I graduated VCU. I had like a little consulting business. I called it Rogers IT Consultant. And so that's how I would make my money. And then when I left my last corporate job, 2003, it's the last time I was a W-2 that I was employed from another company. And I started my second company, and my first client was my employer, which was interesting. I built some software for them. My job there was building like innovation projects. Back then I was the VP of their R&D unit, and we would build not patient-facing products, but this was in a hospital environment. Mm-hmm. And so because I was the one building it, I took that business with me, and that's how I started my first company. They became my first customer. And every business I've started it with a paying customer. I really believe in that.
And you talk about this, I can tell you, like, you just live in this, but this conversation to me feels very high level. Honestly, because I'm in a spot now where I'm like trying to figure out when I can leave my job.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. I do.
Yeah.
I made it so that I could work full time in that business by rethinking the work that I was doing. And I proposed, I was working for someone that kind of saw me. That's important.
Yeah.
And my boss at the time, I proposed to her, how about you guys pay me as a vendor? And this is how, basically I was offering them the same thing that I was doing at work, with the exception of going to their staff meetings and stuff. Like, they treated me as an actual vendor.
Wow.
And she was open to that. And she said, sure. What I didn't know at the time, because, this was my second business. My first one, I was basically a freelancer. My pricing was all wrong. It was a good deal for them. Let's say that.
Yeah.
So I pitched to them, basically pay me my salary, and then, I'll take this project with me. What I didn't know at that time, being in a business, once you start hiring people, it's so much more expensive. You have taxes and insurance and all the things. And, it's not the same as a paycheck that you would get from your employer. You even have to get your own benefits and everything. So I learned business just by being in a business. And I ran that company for about 15 years.
So you became a vendor. So at the time, so when you became a vendor, you left the job as an employee.
Yeah.
So so did they pay you, was this like an upfront payment, lump sum, or?
I billed them quarterly. During that time, they paid like a quarterly retainer. So I converted my income from what it was to a quarterly retainer. Now, that wouldn't have worked. It doesn't always work. It depends on the type of employee you are. And I was what I would call an intrapreneur. So I was behaving as if I was an entrepreneur within the context of my job there. So it made sense to them that I would be a vendor, because I could take the work with me very easily. So that's why that worked. And I just put a price on it that I thought they would go for, and they did. And they worked with me for like 10 years.
What was the price?
Back then, it was, and this is another thing. This was the 2003. It was slightly over 6 figures.
What?
Yeah, then.
Oh my gosh.
This was then, but this was to support 2 software products that I had developed for them. So I extracted everything from my job that I couldn't take with me.
Gotcha.
But these products I actually built. I personally built them. So what I did was I basically created a subscription business and said, okay, I'm going to manage and maintain these 2 software products. You guys pay me. I forget, it was like 10 something annually on a quarterly basis.
Gotcha.
This is how much it would be. And they said, okay, fine. And so they did that. And within a year, I would say within 6 months, I had my second client. And once I got to my third client and needed to hire people, that's when I realized that my pricing was too low.
Because you
couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to hire a person. Yeah, I couldn't afford to hire a person because I was pricing things like I was an employee instead of like I was a business person. So that was like year 1 in business.
Okay, so and now I'm just getting into the intricacies of it. Is there a lawyer involved, an accountant that's helping you draft up this paperwork, or?
Yeah, eventually. So after, churning through a couple of clients, working on a few projects, I'm like, it would probably be great to get a lawyer to do standard contracts. That's one thing I would say when, for people that want to be an entrepreneur, you must invest in the proper accountant and lawyer, not just any accountant and lawyer. You want an accountant that understands your business, your business model, and you need a lawyer that also understands your business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very important.
And when it comes to, because I feel like this may be this is a selfish podcast right now. So if y'all want this information, then y'all got it. But starting the conversation of saying like, hey, I want to switch from being an employee to a vendor. It just feels hard. Like it feels scary.
That's not where you start. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts before that. So I started socializing that like 6 months probably before. I was already ready to leave. And so I started talking to, at the time, my boss about some of my career plans. And she was like a mentor to me. So she was used to encourage me. So she's like, you can start your own business. I really see you as an entrepreneur. Okay. And so I'm like, yeah, I may want to. I don't know, and I just socialized it. And then I started very deliberately working on things that I knew I could take with me. And I had a conversation with her about basically signing over the IP of the things that I worked on as an employee. And so I had a mentor, an advocate, that made that possible. Wow. The average person, if you don't have a mentor and advocate, it's not something you just bring up in a meeting, because the answer is probably going to be 100,000% no. Like really, you have to really lay some groundwork for that to happen. You do.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay, but it sounded like she brought it up first.
She did.
Like, okay,
yeah, so I just leaned in.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah.
But the fact that you created these projects too, the technology component, that's not an easy thing to do.
It's not. And it was like I started as a programmer, and when my career as a programmer, and then became like, senior engineer, systems analyst. I kind of went through
just worked your way up. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was my thing. I was really great at taking people's ideas and making them real, people's software ideas and making them real. And so I had a rhythm for that. She had stolen me from another employer. So she knew that was my thing. And so that's really what I pitched them, was like, I want to take this thing that I do and I want to do it as a business. And basically what I pitched was the value that I would offer them. So I didn't pitch to them how they could help me. I pitched how I could help them. And so what I did was, the price that I quoted them was a more cost efficient way for them to pay for those products. And it was actually cheaper for them to pay me as an as a vendor than an employee.
Ooh.
Yeah, because they pay, and that's another thing with financial literacy. Businesses have to pay, like, it's probably more now, but back then you could basically say there's an extra 25 to 30% that you pay when you have an employee with benefits. And you also have to pay insurance, and it goes up. So if I'm pitching you like a gross amount that's slightly less than my salary, you actually save a lot more money because you're not paying for my benefits.
Yeah. That does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. That or your training
or anything like that. So it was a deal for them.
Okay, and you said this was your second business?
Yeah, that was my second one.
The first one was the consulting.
Yeah.
In the consulting business, did you have employees?
No, that one was basically, I was a freelancer.
You were it was just you doing your thing.
Me.
Okay.
Yeah.
This second business, you have this very good paying client, because if you think about it, if you could have had a couple more of those companies that, you know, like you would have been making bank. So you have a really good paying client. Now you're feeling like you need to hire some help.
Yeah, it was after I had 2 of them, because, you know, one good paying client is great, but it could be a nightmare if you lose that one client. You have to be able to get another one just like it.
Yeah.
So I knew that I needed, you know, more clients, and I went out looking for clients. I looked at my network because, again, I'd been building software for about maybe almost 10 years at that time.
Yeah.
And so I looked at my network, and I had people in my network that wanted to hire me to do things. And so that's how I started building our portfolio of work. It was basically started with my network. And I started hiring people when I could no longer do the work, which was pretty quickly. It was around the 3rd client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these people that were doing the work, are they doing what you do? Like, they're programmers and creating the software as well?
Yeah.
So are you creating like code and things? You guys are creating?
We were then, yeah. And we do now, actually. That's what I've done in most of these businesses that I've created, is to develop software. The difference between that one and Time Study is Time Study developed a software platform that we sell to hospitals. It's the same software that we sell. Back then, we did custom software development, so people would hire us to develop software for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tried to create an alcohol delivery app one time, and I hired these guys from India. And it was not great. It was so bad. Yeah. Like I think the price was like, I think they may have wanted like $5,000, which was a lot cheaper than, you know, what somebody here would have charged for what I wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
But you get what you pay for because the business never came into fruition. The app never got done. Yeah. When it was done, there was a ton of bugs and stuff like that. Yeah. So
it's expensive, and then you have to pay for them to maintain it.
Yeah.
So
when it comes to that, like having a client and you have created this, you know, name for yourself, and people know now that you can give them what you're offering. When it comes down to like maintaining these clients and creating the software, and of course, like, there's always going to be bugs and things like in updates. Yeah. I guess I'm wondering, like, how do you maintain those relationships after the app is done?
Oh, yeah. I think you build that into your agreement, ideally, with them. So I'd like to start at the end on whatever I work on. So when people hire you, you really want to get a sense of like the vision that they have for this thing and what they want to do for it. And you could kind of see what your role in it would be, whether there is an afterlife to the relationship with the client. And if so, you start building that into the agreement. You start talking about what this looks like when they, quote unquote, go live with their app or whatever it is that they're doing, and how you can continue to support them. So again, it's really about the client and paying attention to where you can add value, and then just continuing to pitch that with them. This is how we can continue to support you. This is what that would look like for you. I think the trick, though, is working with the right clients. So if you're not working with the right clients, sometimes you're working with clients that can barely afford what you're doing for them right now. So there is no after this. There's just getting this done, handing it off, and that's it. And that's okay, too.
Yeah. Have you seen, like, one of your projects go live and then like make a ton of money?
I've seen quite a few go live. So that second business, you know, we ran it for 15 years, so we built a lot of stuff.
Y'all built a lot of
that went live. Time Study is one of the things that we built there. And Time Study's in use in over 100 hospitals to date. Yeah. So we've had a lot of things go live.
Is it any of them that you can talk about, like one of them that just was your most successful, besides Time Study?
Besides Time Study, you know, we built a lot of health and research related projects that were for places like the Case Foundation and even VCU. We did some things at VCU. I worked on I co-founded a company with one of the VCU professors that the IP for that company was used by NASA. Which is great.
What?
I didn't sell it to NASA, the IP.
But the IP is yours. Like, you helped. It's some of yours.
Yeah, so we worked on that. And, you know, a lot of things, I would say. But that's my intention always. when I started my career, the thing that I liked the most about technology was when people actually use something that I built. So that's like my currency. I have to actually deliver it to a person to use it. So usually I don't build anything if I don't have a client in mind.
Okay.
And I try to even get a client to collaborate with me on building it because I can't see the vision for it unless I know who's going to use it and what value you offer to them.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, you have to be a creative. Like, you're a creative.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like for you to take somebody's idea, because some people may come to you bare bones and be like, hey, I'm thinking about this, and I kind of wanted to act like that. Then you kind of have to take that and formulate it and make it pretty. And I'm sure you have like prototypes and things like that. And you're like a high paid
like
creator, because there's a lot of artists and creatives that's not pitching to 87 venture capitalists and hitting their first million. So
it's hard. Art is hard. I was
hard.
telling so I'm on I'm the president of the advisory board for computer science at VCU, and that's something that we talk about a lot. We don't often think of computer scientists and technical people as artists, but there are some of them that are. And I learned that I was one of them because I don't particularly like building software for other people, because I want to put my whole self into the project. So if someone just wants to hire you to like just write out some code and push out a thing, I'm not the right person to work on that. And a lot of artists are like that. Like, they get out of art school and it's like, can I pay you for your art? And they're like, oh, no, I don't want to do art. I want to do art, but I don't want to get paid as an employee to do art. You see that a lot with artists.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, because I've never thought of programmers and computer scientists as artists either. I just thought of them as like, the brain gang. Like y'all.
Some of them are. I think they're different characters. Okay. I would say some of them are very like technically driven. Like they like the nuts and bolts and how things work. I like the impact of what we're doing.
Okay. We can get into so much. 4 times founder. So we talked about 2 of those. Yeah. What are the other 2?
So the one of them was the one that I told you that I co-founded with Dr. Chang at VCU. He was at VCU at the time. Okay. That one was grant funded. That was a lot of fun. That's where I learned a lot more about customer discovery for that one. So because it was grant funded, before we actually sold anything or could sell anything, we had to interview 100 potential customers, and we couldn't try to sell them on what we were creating. We had to talk to them just to learn more about what they value. So there's a way that you do customer discovery where you don't try to promote what it is you're selling. You're just trying to learn about the customer. We had to do that 100 times. And we traveled all over to do that, to find our audience. And we had to walk up to strangers. And it was me and, he and I, and we had a 3rd postdoctoral student on our team. And so there's 3 computer scientists. And it was a disaster. The first 20 interviews, we were awful. Yeah. Like, we didn't want to talk to the people at all. And I was the business person on the team. So I ended up being the person that was talking the most. But I learned so much. We learned so much during that time. We didn't spend any engineering money building anything. And what we learned was that we were trying to build something for the wrong market. We learned that before we actually invested in engineering time. So we didn't have to spend a whole lot of engineering money to learn that we built something that nobody's going to use. We actually learned that by talking to people. And so we had to pivot after we did those 100 interviews, because we learned that we were on the wrong track. So that was the 3rd business. That one, VCU owns the IP to that now. So they licensed that out to places like that.
You sold it to them?
Yeah, it was an exit, but it's not like the kind of exit. Like, we read about exits on the internet, you think everyone's like sitting on a boat of cash. It wasn't like that.
Okay.
Not like that.
Is it because it was grant funded?
It has a lot to do with the structure of university and industry partnerships.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. Cash reserves. 3 months, 6 months, or just ride the wave?
Is this for persons or for businesses?
Businesses.
Oh man, as much. So in this market, in this economy, I would say, and I'm going to say this and recognize that I have some privilege in that we're venture backed and we've been post revenue for a while. To be comfortable, a lot of businesses need at least 12 months, ideally 16 to 18 months of runway. Okay, having said that, I've also bootstrapped a lot of companies where that was a dream that you probably would never get to. So I would say, depending on the nature of your business, if you're bootstrapping, I think 6 months is a good target.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. And we have to talk about the fact that you are a Black woman doing this, because in my community, I don't see a lot of people like you, which is why I started this platform, because maybe I should have did customer acquisition too, because I don't know if nobody want to hear this. I mean, like, the numbers is going up. The numbers are going up. But like, I literally can't fathom. I don't know a you know what I mean? So like, I have to just ask you, like, how this has been as a Black woman. Like, do you feel like you've had any pushback, or like, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like you kind of cruise through it?
Oh, no, there was no cruising. No, no, I don't. I will say that in order for me to move forward, I don't dwell. Well, I choose when I dwell on it. I'll say that. So yeah, there's a lot of being. You know that who you are when you walk in this space. So number one, I mentioned that when I started pitching for venture funding, I pitched a lot, like 87 people, and I would get different responses. And in my head, it seemed normal. But when you get in a space where there's a diversity of founders and they start telling stories of their experiences pitching, then you know, oh, wait a minute, something's different. Like, they're having a different experience than I'm having. So one of the things I learned pretty early was there are a lot of intersections. So not only am I, I'm Black, I'm a woman. Yeah. I'm also from Virginia, and which, in New York and Silicon Valley, there are not a lot of people from Virginia in the mix pitching to the VCs. So I was up against a lot, and I'm also a woman of a certain age. So I was up against ageism, racism, sexism, regionalism. Like, you could go in so many different directions, but I would say my secret sauce is I don't waste time with people that can't see me. I know when someone can see what we're doing and they're into what we're doing, and if they're not, and I feel like I'm going to jump a lot of hurdles, my ministry is to move on quickly. And that gets me to people that can see us very quickly. So that's why I pitched to so many VCs, because I didn't waste time with people that I had to jump hurdles for and jump hoops for. And a lot of women and Black women are jumping a lot of hoops to raise very little money, relatively little money, I would say. It's what I see. I see people jumping a ton of hoops. I see companies that are pre-seed that are being asked to deliver post-revenue traction. They may raise tens of thousands, but I know people that raise $1 million with absolutely no product and no customer. So that's the difference, is people will write a check, but there are terms and conditions to those checks. And sometimes it's attached to how much of a risk that they think that they're going to take. And when people don't see a lot of people that look like you doing things like this, they see it as high risk. And so sometimes people like us are up against a lot because they don't see enough of us doing that.
Okay. And then as an investor as well, are you investing in other companies?
I do. I do more social impact investing. So again, like, I'm moved by what I care about. Yeah. So if it's something that I care about, yes, I do. And I would consider myself an angel investor. I'm an advisor to a venture fund in New York, and so sometimes I help them vet potential startups that they invest in as well. Okay, so what pitch would get your attention instantly? Or like, it doesn't even have to be a certain type, but like, is it like the energy, the idea? Yeah, it's how I connect with the first, like, people do slides, but I connect to like the first 30 seconds. That tells me a lot about what the founder feels about their company. First 30 seconds is so important. So it's the overall idea. If I can communicate what they pitch to my 13-year-old or my 80-year-old mother, then it's a great pitch. If I leave the pitch and I don't understand your business, it's not a great pitch. So it's the way that how clear a person can communicate their market and their product or service.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's 5:33. I want to make sure I'm not like, I don't want to take up too much of your time. We won't go for too much longer, but
we're fine.
Okay. I'm so full right now. How many people on your team right now? How many employees you have?
We have about 21 people working currently at Time Study. It's about 20 of us.
About 20?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
It is, but in the space where, we're supporting quite a few hospitals, we're pretty lean, actually, for a company that supports that many hospitals. But, yeah, there are 20 people working. And we're a remote-first company, so there are only three of us in the Virginia area, 2 in Richmond.
Okay.
The rest of us are spread out.
Got you. And is this a company that anybody has reached out to you to invest in or to buy it from you?
Yeah, I get those all the time. I do. I get people reaching out all the time.
How do you feel about that? Because I've heard a lot of people say that sometimes the point of starting a company is to have an exit strategy, or you go in with an exit strategy. However, this sounds like something that is your passion project. So
you must have an exit strategy, and the exit strategy could be, just to build a profitable business and to leave it to your children. That's an exit strategy. Or it could be that you want to go public, know, or it could be I want someone to acquire the company. For me, exit strategies are less about me and more about the business. So for the Time Study business, that particular type of business is more aligned with an acquisition exit strategy. It would probably sit in a larger company with other similar products. That's how I see Time Study. It could also be a company that could go public. But I'm a person that likes to work on different things.
Well, that brings another element to the conversation. Is Time Study going to be on the stock market?
I don't know if I want to deal with the headache. I will say that. There's a lot that goes into that. I don't know if I want to learn about that.
Oh, my gosh.
I have a few friends that have taken their company public, and, I think it's a great experience, but I think from almost everyone I've spoken to, they learn a lot that they wish they had known before they took their company public. Yeah.
And I mean, it's expensive too.
It's very expensive. Yeah.
But you would be able to find the money. I'm sure you would be able to find the money. It's some people I feel like that would just, since they know you're in it, they would just back it just because
you
of
think?
I don't Absolutely.
know. I don't know. Well, we'll see.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Absolutely. Okay, so I know you've done a few different podcasts. I know, like, when you get to a space where you are, a lot of people want a piece of your mind, and a lot of people don't like the term "pick your brain."
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'm wondering, how do you protect your energy when everybody wants a piece of your mind?
Well, that's a great question too. This year I started blogging again.
Nice.
Yeah, I started blogging again, and only recently I'm kicking off I have this series called From the Inbox.
Okay.
Where because people
building an MVP.
Yeah.
Okay.
When people ask me questions, I post them on the blog.
Oh,
and I will record a response. Sometimes I may post that on Instagram. That's my way of, protecting my time, but also being able to share my response broadly instead of like over and over again to multiple people in one-off conversations. So, I tend to not schedule a lot of meetings, the pick your brain meetings, not because I don't enjoy mentorship, but just because I don't have much time to do it. So that's one way to actually scale your time is to do things like blogging and, post your ideas broadly.
Okay. Yeah. And what's next for you? What you got going on? How can we support you?
I don't know. Go to my website. I have a newsletter. My website is kishau.com, KISHAU.com.
Okay.
Go there and sign up for the newsletter. I'll have a lot of good content coming out soon. I am writing a book soon. I don't know when it will be released. So that'll be coming out soon. And just follow me around. You'll hear some things. We have a lot of things going on at Time Study.
Kishau, though. Yeah. But, like, you're around, but you're not around.
No, not in Richmond. Because I'm out. I'm an affiliate faculty at the University of Florida. Okay.
So I
have a lot going on.
Yeah.
I have a lot going on. That's why I'm not around as much.
They just got to follow you.
That's why I say follow me on the internet.
Okay.
And you'll find out what I'm working on.
Okay. Yeah. Is it a one you prefer? Instagram, LinkedIn?
I'm on Instagram more often. LinkedIn is fine. It's just a different vibe on it. It depends on your vibe. Like if you're into like personal stuff other than business, then Instagram. If it's strictly business, go to LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah. But my website is the best place to connect to me on all fronts.
Okay. We'll definitely plug that into the show notes. I know you say you were working on the book. I took some time off. So, like, I invested in some real estate and I made some money. Not as much as you did, but I made enough to retire. I say retire myself. It's technically a sabbatical. I took
it.
You know, you
love that.
You be up in the hospitals, you know it's stressful in there.
Exactly.
But took like a 12-month sabbatical. It'll be 12 months in July. And great. I literally asked myself, like, what would I do if I didn't have to worry about money? And I prayed, and then this blessing was bestowed upon me where not to everybody else, but COVID hit, and I made a lot of money traveling during COVID that allowed me to invest and turn a profit. And so during this time, God has just been telling me what to do. Yeah. So, like, I wrote a book and it just got published.
Oh, really? What's the name of it so I can get it?
It's called Investing While Black.
Okay. I'll buy it as soon as I get home.
I'll send you the link, but it's a financial memoir.
Okay.
And it's very vulnerable. Okay. And I didn't tell a lot of people that I put it out.
Oh, you didn't?
Because it's so vulnerable.
That's the toughest part, right? It's about writing. It is. Yeah, that's been my biggest hurdle, honestly.
What is your book going to be about? Is it going to be like a memoir?
It's going to be about my entrepreneurship journey. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And there are a lot of tough stories, but I actually started journaling them on voice notes because I felt like I could communicate them verbally better than I could write them down. And my writing coach actually helped me get over this hurdle where there's sometimes it's not that I'm trying to hide the story, but I don't like the vulnerability. And so I had to actually work through that. It took me like a year of working with like a writing coach to get me to the point where I would share certain things, even just on my blog. She's like, no, you got to push past this wall. So I admire you for doing that.
That is hard. Yeah. It's hard, and now it's out, and I know my mama go buy a copy. And I'm like... Oh, but you're right.
Those are the things that resonate. People want to read about something real, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's unscripted.
Yep.
I've enjoyed you so much. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm sorry I was running a little late.
Oh, no worries. No worries. You were not that late.
Not too late. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to this amazing episode of Conversations Unearthed. Again, this is Miss Kishau Smith Rogers.
Yep.
Kishau Smith Rogers. Said Kishau Rogers in the beginning, but I'm correcting myself now. Make sure to follow her on all social media outlets. We'll link everything that she has going on. Final words. I just always like to ask before we close it out, your favorite quote or a quote that's been getting you through.
It's do what you can where you are with what you have. That's my journey.
Okay. Yep. I like it. I love it. And y'all know I put out some good quotes sometimes, but I'm gonna go back to Old Faithful today by Dr. Seuss. You have to be odd to be number one. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm a little odd. But I'm also number one. So it works out. But anyways, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Peace, blessings, good love. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Good night. Boom. That's it.
Ooh, very good conversation.
Yes. I'm excited about this one.